Here is the Israeli Prime Minister reacting to the conversation that Trump and Erdogan had on the sidelines of the NATO Leaders Summit that was held in Turkey recently. The conversation between the US and Turkish presidents took place on the 7th of July. It was about the possibility of the US selling F-35s to Turkey.
President Trump is in Turkey right now. He said this morning he will consider selling F-35 fighter jets to Turkey, which is a reversal of a ban he put in place. You said yesterday that would, quote, upset the power balance in the Middle East. Have you made that clear to President Trump?
Yes, I have. Actually, spoke to him several times about it. And I think that everybody understands that notwithstanding the personal friendship that President Trump has with Erdogan, it doesn't make Turkey a friendly or a friendly state to the United States. To the contrary, it's a regime that's infected with the Muslim Brotherhood, which hates the United States.
Yeah, it's normal that it shouldn't come as a surprise. It shouldn't be surprising that there are many groups across the world, many groups, many nations that would hate the United States because the U.S. as an imperialist power, what it does is it goes around the world bombing, attacking, and invading sovereign nations and meddling, intervening in the domestic affairs of sovereign nations. So it's normal. Many people hate the U.S.
He harbors Hamas, the Hamas terrorists. He supports them.
No, Hamas came into existence only in 1987. Israel has been illegally occupying Gaza since 1967. And the reason Hamas was created was to resist Zionist colonial aggression in Gaza.
He finances them. He's thrown his opponents in jail.
Yeah. Look, I'm not necessarily a fan of Erdogan or Erdogan. But speaking of treatment of journalists, uh, if Erdogan or Erdogan throws journalists to jail or to prison, what about you? You murder journalists. This is from the Committee to Protect Journalists, or CPJ. And this was updated on June 25, 2026. Journalist casualties in the Israel-Gaza war. As of June 11, 2026, CPJ's preliminary investigations show that at least 263 journalists and media workers are among the more than tens of thousands killed across Gaza, Yemen, Lebanon, Israel, and Iran. But most of these 263, almost all of them, are those that Israel has killed in Gaza, Yemen, Lebanon, and Iran since the Israel-Gaza war began on October 7, 2023, and the Iran war began on February 20, 2026. Israel's disregard for the lives of journalists and for the international laws designed to protect them is unparalleled. Israel has now killed more journalists than any other government since CPJ began collecting data in 1992, making this war the deadliest on record for journalists. In other words, Israel is summa cum laude or valedictorian when it comes to deliberately murdering, slaughtering journalists. To date, CPJ has documented a total of 263 journalists and media workers killed in Gaza, Iran, Lebanon, and Yemen, explained as below. 259 journalists and media workers killed by Israel, of which 207 were Palestinians killed in Gaza in the Israel-Gaza war, Palestinian journalists. 2 Palestinians killed in Israeli detention centers, 2 Palestinian journalists killed in Israeli detention centers, 31 Yemeni journalists in Yemen killed by Israel, 7 Lebanese journalists in Lebanon during the war on Gaza, 9 Lebanese journalists killed by Israel in Lebanon during the Iran war, and 3 Iranian journalists in Iran killed by Israel during the 12-day war. That was the 12-day war of June 2025, where the U.S. bombed Iran in the middle of negotiations. And again, on February 28th, the U.S. and Israel again bombed Iran in the middle of negotiations. 4 journalists and media workers killed by other actors, of which 1 Iranian killed in U.S.-Israeli strikes during the Iran war, 2 Israelis killed in Israel by Hamas. To be fair, 1 Palestinian journalist killed by an armed group in Gaza, in addition to 174 journalists reported injured, 2 journalists reported missing, 108 journalists arrested, multiple assaults, threats, cyber attacks, censorship, and killings of family members. Targeted murder of journalists. To date, CPJ has determined that at least 75 journalists and media workers were directly targeted and killed by Israeli forces. Directly targeted and killed by Israeli forces in direct reprisal for their work, and continues to investigate many other cases of suspected targeted killings. Amid the extreme constraints imposed on Gaza, including Israel's ban on foreign press access. By the way, why does Israel prohibit foreign press access? Because Israel doesn't want the world to know what's happening in Gaza, in the West Bank, and the other territories that Israel has been illegally occupying, and where Israel has been committing various horrific crimes. Israel doesn't want these reporters, journalists, to report to the rest of the world the horrific crimes, the horrible crimes that Israel is committing, perpetrating against the Palestinians, against the Lebanese, including Israel's ban on foreign press access, destroyed communications infrastructure, mass displacement, and the widespread loss of life. Verifying information consistent with CPJ's rigorous methodology is extraordinarily difficult. The total number of targeted killings may be far higher, with much contemporaneous evidence now destroyed. The true number of Palestinian journalists in Gaza who were deliberately targeted by Israel may never be known.
All of them. He throws more journalists in jail than anyone can understand. So he's not exactly a model ally of the United States. But even worse than that, he threatens Greece, a NATO ally. He occupies half of Cyprus, another NATO country.
Speaking of illegally occupying the territory or territories of neighbors and of other states, who is doing that? Israel. All of these UN resolutions, UN Security Council resolutions, General Assembly resolutions, and the 2024 International Court of Justice, ICJ, advisory opinion. UN Security Council Resolution 242, 1967, Security Council Resolution 476, 1980, Security Council Resolution 478, 1980, Security Council Resolution 497, 1981, Security Council Resolution 2334, 2016, General Assembly resolutions. The UN General Assembly issues a lot of these resolutions. The UN regularly adopts sweeping resolutions, such as those reaffirming the 2024 International Court of Justice ICJ advisory opinion that declares the continued presence in the occupied territories of unlawful and demand complete withdrawal. Now, all of these UN resolutions, UN Security Council resolutions, General Assembly resolutions, and the 2024 International Court of Justice ICJ advisory opinion. By the way, the ICJ is the principal judicial organ of the United Nations. All of this point to the fact that Israel has been illegally occupying the Palestinian territories of Gaza, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem, as well as the Golan Heights of Syria since 1967, and that all Israeli settlements built on these illegally occupied territories are also illegal. And therefore, since they're also illegal, they must be dismantled. But instead of dismantling them, Israel even wants to increase their settlements, especially in the West Bank. Zionist leaders have said they will put 1 million people there and build more illegal settlements there in the West Bank.
And the most important thing, and I put it right on the table, he threatens to destroy my country, the one and only Jewish state.
Hold on, hold on, hold on. Turkey intends to destroy Israel? Or is it the other way around? Freaking Israeli Prime Minister. Lying, freaking Israeli Prime Minister. Look at this. Israeli spy Jonathan Pollard suggests Egypt and Turkey are next targets for war. So who wants to fight who? Who wants to wage war against who? It is Israel. It is not Turkey that wants to fight Israel. It is Israel that wants to fight Turkey, that wants to engage in an aggressive war against Turkey. Listen to this Israeli spy. He suggested Egypt and Turkey are next targets for war. Why? Because Turkey has a strong military power. Egypt as well. Now, what Israel wants is to eliminate, obliterate all strong military powers, or military powers in the Middle East that are robust, because Israel wants free passage for its Greater Israel project. So Israel wants to annihilate or wants to annihilate or destroy Iran, and then if Iran is destroyed or becomes a failed state, then next target would be Turkey and possibly Egypt as well, according to the Zionists themselves. And this one was published on the 28th of May. Israel American spy Jonathan Pollard. Yes, this is related to these headlines. Israeli American spy Jonathan Pollard has suggested Israel may attack Egypt and Turkey in the near future. Speaking on a podcast for news outlet Arutz Sheva, Pollard suggested Israel would need to prepare for further wars in the Middle East after Iran. I'm not so sure that we will have as easy a time with the Turks as we have had with the Iranians, he said. Yes, you're right, because Turkey has a very strong military. We have to be prepared for the next war, which will probably against Turkey and Egypt. The storm is coming. So it is you, Zionists, who are saying that who are mentioning your next targets after Iran. After Iran has fallen, if it will fall. And this one as well. And this is your former Prime Minister, Naftali Bennett. Former Israeli Prime Minister Bennett warns Turkey poses a new threat. Naftali Bennett, by the way, Naftali Bennett, aside from being a former Israeli Prime Minister, is also a possible next Israeli Prime Minister. Naftali Bennett said, I must tell the truth. Israel's current leadership divided us and is dividing us now more than ever. But the point is, he said that Turkey poses as a new threat to Israel. So meaning the Zionists have their eyes on Turkey as their next target, and Egypt as well. And he said this back in February.
The president said this morning that they are great friends, and not just the two of them, the countries of the United States and Turkey, and that Turkey is perhaps a better ally than other so-called allies. So he is considering giving the country these planes, F-35s.
Well, as I said, it would destroy the power balance in the Middle East because Turkey, I think, has aggressive aspirations. I mean, they openly say that. They want to restore the Ottoman Empire. This is not...
No. You are a freaking liar. You are a freaking lying Zionist leader. Turkey doesn't want to restore anything. Turkey doesn't want to perpetrate aggression against its neighbors. Doesn't want to establish what you want to establish, similar to what you want to establish, which similar to your Greater Israel project. On the other hand, it is you, Zionists, who want to establish this. You want to establish this, and you want a free passage to establish this. That's why you want to eliminate all military powers, military organizations in the Middle East that could potentially become obstacles to your establishment of your Greater Israel project. So this is your Greater Israel project. You want to establish, you want to have political, military, and economic dominion over the entire stretch of land from the Nile River here to the Euphrates River there. So you want the dominion over the entire stretch of land from the Nile River to the Euphrates River, and that's gonna encompass a lot of lands. That's gonna cover, that's gonna include entire Palestine, entire Jordan, entire Lebanon, and entire Syria or parts of Syria, parts of Turkey, parts of Egypt, and parts of Iraq, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia. So it is you Zionists who want to establish some kind of a regional hegemony, and Turkey is not doing that. What you want to do, you attribute it to Turkey, but you are the ones doing it, or you're the ones that that are actually doing it or planning to do it.
A force for peace and stability. And if you give, this kind of radical regime that admittedly smiles to America when it is necessary, or smiles to the president of the United States when it's necessary, when you give him that power, you're going to see aggression in its wake. I wouldn't do that.
President Trump is in Turkey right now. He said this morning he will consider selling.
Now, you said that Israel is a Jewish state. Now look at this. Theodore Herzl, who wrote the Jewish State, the essay that led to the creation of the state of Israel. By the way, Israel is not a state. Israel is not a state. It's a Zionist entity. It's a colonial project of Western powers. It came into existence because of the facilitation of its creation by Western powers, especially by the British Empire. Now, for decades, it served as America's largest aircraft carrier in the Middle East. Now, Theodor Herzl was a freaking atheist, and David Ben-Gurion, Israel's prime minister, was another freaking atheist. So you talk about Israel as a Jewish state. No, Israel is not a state, and it's not a Jewish state. It doesn't represent Judaism, nor does it represent Jews. And David Ben-Gurion, Israel's first prime minister, was another freaking atheist. And Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro says, if you are Jewish or non-Jewish, please let the world know Jews all over the world are not responsible for the actions of the Zionist state of Israel. Israel doesn't represent the Jewish people. Israel doesn't represent the Jewish people. And this one here is Rabbi Elhanan Beck. What does he say? He says, Israel is the most dangerous place for Jews. So they don't like your Zionist entity. They despise your Zionist entity, Prime Minister Netanyahu, whose original surname is Malekowski. And Rabbi Elhanan Beck is going viral for declaring that Israel will end, and the land from the river to the sea must be returned to its original owners, of course, the Palestinians. Because Israel was founded on the blood of the Palestinians. And this one here is, Rabbi Weiss. Zionist Israel is antithetical to Judaism. Everything that Israel does is antithetical to the great teachings and the great tenets of Judaism. And the Likud party is the Israeli Prime Minister's political party that has been ruling Israel with actually in a coalition with other political parties. This is the Likud party's original Party Platform 1977. This is from the Jewish Virtual Library. Likud Party Original Party Platform 1977, the right of the Jewish people to the land of Israel, Eretz Israel, under letter A. What does your political party's original party platform say, Mr. Prime Minister? The right of the, under letter A, the right of the Jewish people to the land of Israel is eternal and indisputable. Well, that's your claim. And it's linked to the right to security and peace. No, you're the threat to the security and peace of your neighbors. And you have stolen Palestinian lands. And you are stealing a lot of other lands from the Palestinians and from the Lebanese and from the Syrians. Judea and Samaria, by the way, the Zionists call the West Bank as Judea and Samaria. Judea and Samaria will not be handed to any foreign administration. Between the sea and the Jordan, there will only be Israeli sovereignty. So this is what about this? Speaking of illegal occupation, and speaking of hegemonic ambitions, speaking of trying to dominate uh, other lands and other nations. Between the sea and the Jordan River, there will only be Israeli sovereignty. You want this. The Zionists want this. You want only Israeli sovereignty between the Mediterranean Sea and the Jordan River. So this means that you want to annex Gaza, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem. So it's not true that the Zionists are open or amenable to the idea that there should be a Palestinian state in the West Bank, in Gaza, and in East Jerusalem. No, they want all of this. They want Gaza, East Jerusalem, and the West Bank, and not just this. They want many more lands. Actually, they want all the lands between the Nile River and the Euphrates River. And this Netanyahu, whose original surname is Mylekowski, but his father changed it to Netanyahu because Netanyahu sounds indigenous to Palestine. And the Netanyahu family and all Israeli prime ministers, and in fact, most of the Israeli people are not indigenous to Palestine. They are only migrant settler colonists. Now, Netanyahu's original surname, Mylekowski, sounds very Central or Eastern European because they're not really from Palestine. They're from Europe. Now, Netanyahu directs Israeli military to seize 70% of Gaza. And this map shows the Lebanon, and right here, Israel is occupying this. This is southern Lebanon. Israel has leveled this and is currently occupying this. And Israel also wants to annex this to Greater Israel. And this is 20% of Lebanon, by the way. When you listen to the Israeli Prime Minister, 99%, if not 100% of the things that come out of his mouth are all lies.